Hello everyone, welcome to the When It Worked podcast. You're with your host Julian Lee. Today I'm joined by Kurt Bush, Bogdan, Rosu, and Dave Kahle. Welcome to the show, guests.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
How did I go with the names?
Good enough. Good enough. I like to say Kahle, like the fish that swims in the sea. Kahle whale.
Kahle, gotcha. And Bogdan, sounds Serbian. Are you Serbian?
Romanian.
Romanian, okay. Just down the road. All right, let's get the board up. Lakes and rivers, religion, Revolutionary War, which will be the American Civil War, the Olympics, transportation, and geography. The man in Romania, Bogdan, Rosu, can kick things off.
Let's go with religion.
Yeah, let's pick a fight. No. Religion for 100. Believers in this Haitian religion say lower spirits possess them and ride them like horses. It's a Haitian religion, and I think you've seen it in movies. Like there was a James Bond movie. How can I give it clues? Does anyone got any idea? They have lots of rituals, and they have like a little doll, and you can stick needles into the doll.
Oh, voodoo.
And yeah, voodoo, I think it's called, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, let's take a look if that's correct. I could be just. Voodoo is correct. Well done, Bogdan.
Ooh. That was unexpected.
It was. What would you like? You were in control.
I didn't know. Can I? What does that mean? That I can choose another topic?
Pick a topic, anything. You can pick anything on the board.
Okay, so let's go with Olympics.
Olympics, I'm assuming for 100. Yeah. Number of events in the women's heptathlon.
7. So
7.
Yeah.
Quick.
There you go.
Quick off the mark there. Kurt, you're on the board for 100 and in control. What would you like?
Let's do religion for 200.
Religion for 200. The early Christians called all believers this, even those not canonized.
Saints.
Saints. Let's take a look. We have a correct answer. Well done, Dave.
No, let's do religion for 500.
Religion for 500. And do you see the new Pope? How exciting. Religion for 500. This word comes from the Hebrew word meaning the anointed one. The anointed one, Hebrew.
I say Messiah.
Messiah, that's a good answer. Let's take a look. Well done, Dave. Dave's been going to Sunday school. What's next,
Well,
Dave?
let's keep on that column. Religion for 400.
Religion for 400, says Dave. For a Buddhist, this blessed state ends the cycle of death and rebirth.
Nirvana.
Nirvana, Dave's in there. I was going to say also a grunge band from the early 90s. Dave, you've got it. What would you like?
Well, let's keep going. Religion for 300.
Religion for 300. The three major branches of American Judaism. You got the guys with the curls and the hats. What do we call them?
Orthodox.
Yeah, and then you got the ones that are kind of a bit more relaxed, and you can even give them a bacon sandwich.
It's not helpful.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if that's true. Yeah, I would say maybe like Reformed would be another one. And then there's one more. Maybe the one that Madonna joined. What was that one called? It starts with a K. Anyway, let's take a look.
Kosher.
I know. That's we got Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform. I was thinking Orthodox, Reform, and Kabbalah. Anyway, we nearly got there together. You're still in control, Dave.
So, Revolutionary War for 100.
Revolutionary War 100. Samuel Prescott made it to Concord to warn the Patriots while this rider was captured en route. The famous dude,
Paul Revere.
Paul Revere. Even I knew that one from Australia. Incredible. What would you like, Dave?
200.
200.
Revolutionary War, 200, yeah.
He said, I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. Wow.
This is embarrassing, guys.
Yeah, come on, guys. You're gonna have to, you get deported for things like this these days. He said, I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country. It's either one of those guys it's either George Washington.
Julian, what's with this?
No, sorry.
What's with this discrimination? Where's the Romanian trivia?
Yes, a Romanian category. Okay, who was the famous Romanian gymnast who scored a perfect 10?
Nadia Comaneci.
There you go. All right, I'll give you points for that later on. Well, the answer to this one is Nathan Hale. Nathan Hale. Dave, you're in control still.
300, Revolutionary War.
Revolution 300. At Boston's Whites of the Eyes Pavilion, you can see this battle depicted on film. Pretty obscure. Nobody knows. I'm going to go straight to the answer. The Battle of Bunker Hill. Never heard of it. Next one, Dave. What would you like?
Should have known that. 400. 400.
Revolutionary War. Though defeated in the revolution, he went on to become the Governor General of India. One of the Brits, was it? What was he doing in India? Who knows? Was there Brits in there? The answer is too small. It is Charles Cornwallis. Does that ring a bell? Maybe. What would you like? Maybe. Should we finish it off, Dave?
We should, yep.
I don't like this category. One of 4 men who represented the United States in the Paris peace negotiations with Britain in the Revolutionary War.
Benjamin Franklin.
You know what? I've just realised I'm totally confused. I got mixed up with the Civil War, which you have the Yankees and the whatevers, and this was against the Brits. Okay. The answer to this one is Benjamin Franklin. I think you said that, Dave. Is that right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm.
Well done, Dave. What would you like?
Well, let's try transportation for 100.
Transportation. A 1984 count reportedly indicated this city's streets contained 927,000 potholes. It's an old question.
Chicago.
Let's have a look. Either that or New York, I reckon. New York it is. Sorry. Dave, you still in control?
200 transportation.
200 transportation. While in office, he became the first president to ride in a car and submerge in a submarine.
Woodrow Wilson.
It was Teddy Roosevelt. What would you like, Dave? Should we continue on? Transportation, 300?
Sure.
Guinness says on a calm night in 1966, one of these became the largest object ever stolen by one man.
A train.
Good answer. It was a firefighter ship. Oh, no, a freighter ship. A big freighter ship. That's a great. It would have been a good chase, high speed chase. Dave, let's go. 400 transportation.
Transportation. Yep.
Group which topped the country charts with this song about a truck driver. Roll on highway, roll on along.
Alabama
is the group. Well done.
Let's finish that one out.
Transportation for 500 says Kurt, in production from 1897 to 1924. This car was nicknamed the Tea Kettle. It's got to be the one, the first one.
Yeah, Model T, right?
Model T. Sorry, I led you astray. I'm renowned
I was
for
going
this.
there anyway.
The Stanley Steamer is what it was. So it was a steam. That's why it was called the Tea Kettle, because it had all the steam coming out. Kurt, what would you like?
Let's do the Olympics for 2.
Olympics for 200. It's said after Bob Bowman's 1968 world record, a competitor remarked, "You have destroyed this event." Jeez. What happened in 1968? Was that when they did the Black Power thing?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, maybe.
So it might be something to do with that. Somebody from... anyway, let's have a look what they say. The running long jump. Oh, so he had a new strategy. There's always somebody comes out with something, and everyone got upset, and he probably got the world record because he did a run instead of a standing. But wouldn't that be just common sense? But anyway, that's what happened. That was 1968. Kurt, what would you like?
Yeah, keep going. Olympics for 300.
Olympics 300. In 1896 games, only men in the Navy of this host country could enter the 100-meter freestyle for sailors. 1896. Who was the big... It's probably the Brits. I don't know. Could or the Americans. It'll be the Brits or the Americans. That's my pick. Anybody? Have a guess.
No.
Or
nothing.
something different. Okay, Romania. That's the answer. Let's try.
Wow.
It is Greece. Oh, well, that's fair enough. They invented it.
Yep.
All right.
Keep going.
Keep going. Olympics 400. As late as the 1930s, teachers of this subject were considered pros and ineligible for the Olympics. Teachers of which subject were pros of an Olympic event?
I'm going to say physics.
Physics. Good answer. It's logical. Physical education. Jeez,
Close.
I don't think my PE teacher could have got a gold. Kurt, should we finish it off?
Yes, sir.
He won the 100 meters in 1924, and over 50 years later, he won it again in Chariots of Fire. It's probably that was a British dude with a white t-shirt. But nobody knows. Let's have a look. The answer is Harold Abrahams. All right, we've got lakes and rivers and geography left. Kurt, you're still in control. What would you like?
Let's go lakes and rivers for 100.
Lakes and rivers. Route, as you say in the States, of this canal passes through the Gatun Lake.
I think it's the Panama Canal.
Panama Canal. Well done. Dave.
Lakes and rivers for 200.
Lakes and rivers for 200. Lake Nasser came into existence in 1971 with the completion of this. I know this one.
Hoover Dam.
No. Bogdan, do you have any idea? Think Middle East. Famous passage of water. Lots of ships go through it. It's very you've got to squeeze through it. It's very narrow.
Suez, is it Suez Canal?
It is. Bogdan, what were you going to say?
I was going to say that my geography teacher hated my guts, and if she was here right now, she's like, okay, that makes sense. His reaction
I
makes
knew
sense.
you were going to fail at Jeopardy one day. That's what she said. Dave, you're in control. What would you like?
Yeah, 300. Lakes and rivers.
Lakes and rivers. The two African countries named for the Niger River. Well, one of them is obvious, surely.
Nigeria.
Yeah, that's Bogdan said Nigeria. And I think, Bogdan, if you just subtract if you subtract river and just say the first name, I think there's a country called that as well. Make sure you got one G. Do you get what I'm saying to you?
No.
Anybody?
Niger
and Nigeria, I think. Let's take a look.
That was very original.
Is correct. Well done, Kurt. What would you like?
Yeah, lakes and rivers 400.
Lakes and rivers 400. Lake of the Woods separates northernmost point in the lower 48 states from the rest of this state in the U.S. The northernmost point in the lower 48 states. Lake of the Woods separates. So just one of the states. The lower 48 states. So Does that exclude Alaska?
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to say Maine.
Maine. The answer we're looking for is Minnesota. Kind of up the top there. They sort of sound like Canadians. Is that where the Fargo was set?
Nope. North Dakota.
Oh, right. Sorry. All right. Continuing on. Who's in control? Dave.
500.
Lakes and rivers, 500. The Thousand Islands of salad dressing fame are in this river. Which river has 1,000 islands in it? Or would not know. It'd have to be a very long river. Or a hugely wide river. We don't know the answer. The answer is the St. Lawrence. Anyone heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Is that in the States?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go. We've got geography left. Bogdan's going to get stressed out.
Oh, wow.
Geography we got. Let's give Bogdan a run. You can kick things off. What would you like, Bogdan?
Let's go geography 500.
500. Let's go maximum pain. One of the two gulfs which border the Sinai Peninsula. The gulfs.
Dave?
Sinai is around the Middle East, right? There's a lot of gulfs in there. There's one that starts with a P. It's also
Persian Gulf.
yeah. And then you've got what else? Haven't you got not the United States Gulf, which is the old Mexico Gulf? What's the other one up that part of the world? The Persian Gulf and the
Suez?
Suez. No. Let's try. Let's have a look. I'm stuck on this one. The Gulf of Suez and the Gulf of... I'm going to give it to you anyway.
Aqaba.
It's something else, but I'm giving it to Bogdan because he got Suez.
Aqaba.
What would you like?
Yeah,
You got 500
thank
points.
you.
Hey, man. You're
Thank
on
you,
500.
Google Maps.
You're on 600 and
I'm
800 versus 2,000, Dave. So you could still win this, Bogdan.
Yes, I'm sure. I'm just going to give it to Dave because I actually cheated on that one. So
Oh, you cheated. Okay.
thank you.
You did actually use Google Maps. Well, that's the first time somebody's admitted that they cheated during this game. I've had my suspicions on other times, but all right, Dave, you can kick things off on this one. What would you like?
Well, I'm going to go with 100.
Chaos. We've got chaos here. 100 geography. If you're thinking of the second largest city in Colorado, this one should spring to mind.
Colorado Springs.
Colorado Springs. I know that from that Homicide Hunter show, you know. Have you seen that? All right, Colorado Springs. Now, who got it? That's the real question. Dave, who was it? Did Bogdan say it as well?
I think he did.
I did not.
Yeah, I think it was Dave and I.
Dave
Yeah, okay.
and Kurt. Who got it? Bogdan, you
Dave
be,
can have
you
it.
be the
He's
judge.
on a great run.
Okay, we'll give it to Dave. Very charitable. Kurt, you're going to get the Sportsmanship Award. Dave, we've got 200, 300, and 400 of geography.
200.
200. A province of Indonesia and a former territory of Australia share this, the world's second largest island. They are, how do I say it? They're right up the top of Australia. They have, they are very dark skinned. They have fuzzy hair like African people. And up in the north, they still are very tribal, like you'd expect. They have a 3-barrel name. Starts with a P. Second initial is N. Third initial is G.
Papua New Guinea.
Papua New Guinea. That's what I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
New Guinea is correct. Well done, Kurt. What would you like?
300.
300 geography. The Khyber Pass connects these two countries. Nobody knows. We are looking at Pakistan and Afghanistan.
Mm.
Interesting. Geography, last question. Seeing residents huddled around campfires on the shore, Magellan named the region this, meaning land of fire. Probably in Spanish, because I think Magellan was... No, he was Portuguese. Land of fire. seeing residents huddled around campfires. He called it Land of Fire. So something, if you know what Portuguese for Land of Fire is, you probably know this one. Nobody knows. The answer we're looking for is Tierra del Fuego. Land of Fire in Portuguese. That wraps things up. Well played. Bogdan on 600, Kurt on 1,000, and Dave smashed it. 2,900. What was your favourite category, Dave?
Oh, religion.
Yeah, religion.
I think I aced it. Yeah.
You absolutely tore through the religion category. Well, Dave, let's have a chat to you. You're the winner, so you can go first. And you help people with B2B stuff. Is that correct?
Yeah. B2B sales.
And tell us a little bit about what you do and how you got into becoming a consultant, and who are you helping and why.
Well, that's a lot there. So I work with sales forces, B2B sales forces, and basically help them sell better. And we do that through consulting on issues related to sales organization, sales systems. And we train salespeople in the best practices of their profession. And that's basically what I do.
And what stage?
I got into this kicking and screaming. I never intended to do this. I was 40 years old and without a job, found myself without a job, and said, well, and after a while, I discovered that I was overqualified and overpriced for everything I interviewed for. I said, well, I can't get one job, so I get lots of little jobs. And that started a consulting practice. And then somewhere along the line, I was reading the books about how to build a consulting practice. And they said, give seminars. So I said, okay, I'll give a seminar. And I made a deal with the local business college to, I'd create and present the seminar, and they would promote it and handle the money and so on. And so for a number of years, I gave seminars till somebody came up to me and said, can you do this for my company? Never occurred to me to do it for money. I was doing it to build a practice. I said, sure. She said, how much? And I just pulled the figure out of the air. I had no idea. Just pulled a number. Next thing you know, I'm speaking in front of a national association, and I thought, wow, I can make money doing this. So I decided to pursue speaking and training. And for the next 30 years, I've spoken in 47 states and 11 countries and authored 13 books. And it's been what I've done in my life. So I never intended to, but I'm eternally grateful for the opportunity and the path that I was put on for that.
Yes, and how are you mostly doing speaking, or are you mostly doing consulting?
Well, these days, I would say more consulting. I mean, I'm tired. Honestly, I'm tired of traveling. I mean, I had years when I do 300 flights a year. I'm really, I'll do Zoom programs now, but I don't. I mean, I've only done one the last couple of weeks, and I'm just not interested in traveling anymore. Yeah, as weird as that sounds, So
yeah, it's not fun when you're working, traveling, and you've got to zip around everywhere. And what types of businesses do you mostly seem to find yourself helping, and what are some of the problems they're having?
Yeah, I would say primarily wholesale distributors. I mean, for the most part, wholesale distributors of anything. It doesn't matter what the thing is. So, and typically the issue is, I mean, it's true for all B2B sales, and that's that salespeople, for the most part, have never been trained in the best practices of their profession. They just don't know what they don't know, and to come into an organization and train the people in the best practices often just makes incredible difference, because most people just kind of default to what feels comfortable, and they're kind of left on their own. So when they're exposed to the best practices of their profession, they take to it like a sponge, and it makes radical changes. And
if you could sum it up, what are the best practices that you generally put in place for these companies?
Yeah, well, I spent a lot of time on planning and preparing, and so we have practices related to monthly planning, annual planning a sales call, preparing a sales call, and so on and so forth. So probably spend more time on planning and preparing than on anything else. I mean, there's a lot of sales people out there, sales trainers who really focus on the moment of the interchange between you and your customer. I'm less interested in that than I am planning for that moment. So we do a lot of work on planning and preparing.
And can you elaborate on what types of planning is involved? So we're talking about planning for sales calls. What does that mean?
Well, I have a unique format. I talk about four different. People say, do you have to have an objective for a sales call? And I said, no, you have to have four objectives. So in every sales call, a salesperson should learn about the customer. They should present something to the customer. Just connect to the customer and agree with the customer. So four objectives for every sales call, and then we have a way to sort of if you can imagine a dartboard, with rings and rings, and so when you hit the dart in the center, you score the most points, but you score fewer and fewer as you get further out. And that's a metaphor that I use to talk about for each of the four competencies. So learning, you can learn at different levels. And you can learn superficially or you can learn deeper. And same thing with presenting and agreeing and connecting. So it's just a way to conceptualize what a salesperson does and focus on the core things in a sales call.
Interesting. And are you also installing ways that those type of metrics can be measured and reported?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big issue. Is what they report on, and most companies will report on sales and gross profit, which, okay, we've been doing that for 40 years, but we can more fine tune the ability to track and measure very specific sales behaviors. So it really depends on the sophistication of that particular company's computer system, their IT system. But we can track sales behaviors much more finely than you could 20 or 30 years ago. And people who are just tracking sales and gross profit are, 30 years behind things. I mean, you can do a much better job.
Absolutely. What sort of software do you use for all that tracking and stuff?
Well, I don't excuse me, I don't have any software that I recommend because every company has their own unique software system. But in today's world, most of them have the capability of tracking behavior much more finely, and it's just built into the system. As these systems have evolved, and we're on version 10.2 or whatever. Yeah. All that stuff is generally available to a company.
And you find that most companies are not really even using all the stuff they've got available and
are
paying for already.
Yeah, that's right. They're not, and it's just because they haven't stopped and thought about it deeply. They're running from crisis to crisis, and just really haven't stopped and thought about it. And that's what I do, help people think deeply about some of these issues.
The other question I've got for you, Dave, when you get all this set up and you've got all the metrics and you're measuring all of the, they're doing all the behaviors that you want them to do, what sort of correlation is there between the people who are doing all of that versus the ones that are getting good results?
I'm not quite sure I understand your question.
Well,
try
for
me
example,
again.
When you do set it up and you're measuring, and these people are doing all of the metrics that you've talked about, agreeing with the customer, following up, whatever, and the ones that are doing it all well, how much of a correlation with success in getting deals is that in your experience?
Yeah, there's a dramatic correlation because what we're tracking are the behaviors that get results. So when you do the right things, you get better results. And so if we track correctly, we track the behaviors that get results. And so when people do that, of course, they get better results. It's an amazing thing. When you do the right things, you get better results.
Yeah.
Simple as
And then when you get it all set up and you got the structure that you're talking about, you find that you're able to get people doing the right things more consistently. So it's really a no-brainer. You do get some people, though, that are kind of freaks, like sales freaks, and they do everything wrong, and they sell tons. And but by and large, would you say, for the majority of people, that's not going to be the case, and this is having a process is going to greatly improve things.
Yeah, I've worked with thousands of salespeople, and I've yet to meet the one who does everything wrong and gets good results.
Oh, okay.
Uh, yeah, I have met hundreds and hundreds, maybe thousands, who think they're doing everything right because they don't know better.
Yeah.
And when you expose them to the best practices, it's a revolution. It's a transformation in a lot of salespeople.
Excellent. And do you and you do a lot of Zoom consulting, or do most of the people you work with live around your area?
No, my market is really English speaking people worldwide. So it's not local at all.
All right. Well, if you're out there and you've got a sales department and you need to get tighten things up now, you always need to go back and look at your sales department because things go off the rails. So you do need to, even if you've had training in the past, maybe you should try some new training. So I've put Dave's URL in the show notes. It's Dave Kahle, KAHLE.com. And they can reach out to you, Dave, and have a chat. Do you have like a little call me button or something on there?
Yeah, yep, sure. Contact us.
All right. So, yeah, you can do that, or you can just call up direct and have a chat to Dave, and Dave can set up some training. And what sort of size sales forces can you train?
Well, we can train anybody, but my sweet spot is probably 20 to 300.
20 to 300. Oh, that'll
Yeah.
cover most of them.
hmm
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, Dave Kahle. Very interesting.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful. All right. Let's go left and have a chat to Kurt. Kurt, is it like third time lucky? I had to cancel a few shows with that Kurt was here on. But anyway, we got him now. And tell us a bit about Brimstone and why you set it up.
Yep. So I co-own Brimstone Coaching Group. It's a leadership coaching practice. I started this with one of my best friends. We just believe so deeply that leaders today, and let me say, I think everybody leads something. So I think the word leader encompasses most adults today. We just believe really deeply that leaders today are showing up and behaving and living into rhythms of life because of things in their past that they don't even realize are affecting the way they show up today. And we believe this because that's been true for us too. We believe deeply that things from our first formation, things like, encounters of embarrassment or encounters of being made fun of or encounters that teach us how to be safe and get accolades, that those things actually hang on into our adulthood as leaders, but often we just don't need them. They just don't serve us. Those behaviors, those rhythms, those protections, they just don't serve us as adult leaders like they once did. Actually, they hinder us. So we started this because we just really believe that this work, the work that we help others do, changed our lives as leaders. And we just really deeply believe that this is how leaders feel content. This is how leaders feel whole. This is how the world changes when people start to become more aware of who they are and how they're showing up in the spaces they show up.
Yeah, so it's like it's kind of half psychology, I guess. And what you're saying is that sometimes, well, all of us we've been formed by our experiences, and sometimes those experiences have ways of doing things which are probably not optimal and maybe could be improved. That's pretty much what you're saying, I think, isn't it, Kurt?
Yeah, that's right. We believe, well, I mean, neuroscience believes that our brain and our nervous system, when we're being formed, our nervous system learns how to fight, flight, or freeze, right? And there are triggers when we are younger versions of ourselves that kick that into motion. Well, adult version of ourselves, our nervous system is still kicking into that fight, flight, freeze. Our nervous systems don't know that my experience that I have today is different than the experience I had when I was a younger version of me. So we really do believe that there's a way to kind of undo that and train our nervous systems, train our bodies to realize that the danger today is not what it used to be. And you don't have to show up in those ways that we always have. We can show up differently. We can lead differently. We can respond to people differently. We can respond to triggers differently. That we don't have to stay stuck in what we've always done.
And another thing you talk about is that leadership, or what's expected of leadership has changed, and that people are kind of expecting something different. And if you're only doing, something that then maybe it's not really what people want. Do you want to elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, if I'm understanding correctly, you can interrupt me if I'm going the wrong way. But I do think there has been a shift over the last couple decades where leadership really did mean a sort of authoritarian role. That a leader was going to have all the answers. A leader was going to direct people and kind of be the pawn mover and kind of know everything, be the expert about everything. I actually think today that has shifted to where I might say that the best leaders are the people that know themselves the best, that know how they're going to respond in stress, that know how they're going to respond when they have to have a hard conversation, that know how to say things like, I don't know what to do in this situation, but I know how to find out. And that's a tremendous shift. And that takes a lot of work to be able to go from being the expert into something, to hold that model of leadership, to say, I don't know everything. That's a huge shift. But I do think that's where we're at today. I think that shift continues to happen more and more.
Yes. Being able to confidently say you don't know, it just takes all the pressure off. I can't imagine having to be the expert about everything and be fraught with anxiety whenever something came up that you didn't understand. And the other thing that is improving or needs to improve is like the way you instruct people and get them to do what you want to do, and how you talk to them, and also how you talk to your wife. Is there's a bit of strategy to it, and you can talk to people in a way that will get them on side. Little things like before you go in on a team member, you just pick something they've done really well, and then now this other thing, and really you only want to talk to them about the other thing. A bit like that book. I love this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. All of those kind of soft skills are really important as well. Do you talk about that type of thing as well in leadership?
Yeah, I mean, I think we sum it up by just using the word authenticity. I think today authenticity is valued by so many more people. I mean, I think employees want leaders to be authentic with them. I think our social circles desire authenticity. I think we would just call it being authentic, to say, when we show up in a space with someone, whether it's work or play or social, that really we would say the strongest leaders know how to be authentic and know how to be, who they are, living into their skills and their gifts and their passions, not having to kind of put on a mask of what they think they should know or do. Yeah. We actually think that wins people more than anything. That authenticity actually draws more people than anything else.
100%. Yeah. And people just immediately they don't like the kind of flashy thing, and if you can show your flaws, people will go into bat for you because they see you're just a normal person. You're not a Superman or whatever. Well, that's great. So, leadership coaching. And what types of people do you work with? Like kind of CEOs or?
Yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag. Some of our clients are, just moms, stay-at-home moms that want to, learn how to lead their family a little better, or feel stuck and don't know how to take the next step of growth. We range from that to sort of C-suite folks that actually lead people in a traditional leadership setting. What we found is that there is sort of a unanimous need for people to learn how to take the next step in growth. What's true, Dave said this already, like, we don't know what we don't know. So we really find that our role is helping people helping people understand what they don't know, becoming self-aware, enter into the work of self-discovery. We actually find ourselves working with a lot of nonprofits. I think what we find is a lot of nonprofit executive directors find themselves in spaces that maybe they never thought they'd find themselves in, and really just kind of need to fast track their own growth and their own leadership. But we do a lot of work one-on-one. We do a lot of work with groups as well. We believe that communal learning settings are really, really good. We actually believe that the silver bullet of working with groups or individuals is actually the practice of reflection. It is saying that you and I have these encounters every day where we react and respond. Unless we learn how to pause and reflect on them, we'll just continue to repeat the cycle of how we show up and what we do over and over. So yeah, we really do have a broad range of people that we help kind of enter into that space of reflection.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It carries across lots of different walks of life, leadership skills, and and often if you find yourself, we all get into these like little ruts and things, and whenever I get into one, this is when I will do coaching, or I'll start reading more or whatever, and when you get in these ruts, and coaching is really good, and by the end of it, you've almost always got clarity, new ideas, and you're revitalized. So I'm very pro coaching. If you want to improve as a leader in your life, whatever you're doing, whether you're C-suite or not, have a chat to Brimstone, Kurt at Brimstone. I've got the URL in the show notes. Is it brimstonecoaching.com?
Brimstonecoachinggroup.com.
Brimstonecoachinggroup.com. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Kurt, for coming on and sharing
Thank you.
with us. Kurt Bush.
Thank you.
All right, let's pop over the pond and have a chat to Bogdan. Now, you're a leadership coach as well, Bogdan.
I am, and before I jump in, let me just say, Kurt has the absolute best voice I've ever heard in my life.
I'm happy. Deep radio, dulcet tones.
100%. I'm happy I'm wearing headphones and my wife is not listening in, because otherwise I would be in trouble.
Yeah, getting into it too much.
Thanks, Bogdan.
You got a little creepy there, Bogdan, but I'm with you still. So now you sort of have a martial arts background, Bogdan, and you apply the principles of martial arts to your leadership coaching. Is that correct?
I do. Let me give you a better link, the one that's maybe more relevant for our conversation, and just post it in the chat. I'm in the process of writing a book, my book called Greatness and Mastery, 10 Martial Arts Plus Leadership Principles that give you the edge to join the top 0.01%. It basically combines the martial arts philosophy of Wing Chun, karate, and other martial arts styles. I created the first personal development through martial arts program in the world in Bucharest, taught it for 6 years. And then I actually fell in love with leadership. Yeah, and that's pretty exciting. So, Kurt, we should definitely connect afterwards. Not to listen to your sexy voice, but to actually talk about leadership.
All right, and
anyway,
that's cool. So when did you write your book?
It's still in the process of. I'm still in the process of writing it. Chapter 1 and 2 are already available for download, and it's probably going to be ready in another month.
And what are some of the principles that you get from martial arts and you apply to your coaching?
Well, to kind of build upon what Kurt was saying, authenticity is 100% very, very, very important. One of the principles I talk about in the book, because the book is divided into, right? It's the yin and the yang. In order to have any type of lasting transformation, you need to address both, right? So the yin is the inner shifts that you need to effectively use the strategies, the leadership strategies, the sales, the marketing strategies, and so on and so forth. So the first part is the mind, body, and spirit. That's the yin. In the second part, the yang, we go into the leadership techniques of the top 0.01%. Now, in the body section of the book, what's really, really important as a leader is not just to listen with your ears, and you'd be surprised how very few leaders, coaches, and even teachers don't really use their ears, right? This is something I learned from Wing Chun. You learn to listen with your body, your whole body. Because if you want to know what's happening in somebody's conscious mind, you look at what they're saying. If you want to know what's happening in their subconscious mind, you look at what they're doing and how they're using their body. So you also listen with your eyes for very, very small, minute micro gestures in the conversation. And then you take it a step forward. You lean back, you become the observer, and you listen with your heart. That's where intuition comes in. And intuition will guide you in certain directions in the conversation that will massively surprise both you and the person you're leading, right? So that's just one of the principles. Another one, the famous be like water. What does that actually mean, right? Bruce Lee's famous quote. He said, you put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a teapot, it becomes the teapot. A lot of people mistake that for losing yourself or playing a character for a different situation. That is not what that means. If I'm sparring someone and I'm like, okay, step one, hit like this, and then, go with a roundhouse kick or whatever, you're in trouble, right? What it means is to be that situation in the moment, to adapt to that situation. But then water, it doesn't forget what it is, right? So water is that higher element, that higher self, let's say, the observer that you tap into. And I'm sure you guys have had this experience, right? You're giving a speech, you're just downloading that information and it surprises you too, right? So that's the element of authenticity, knowing exactly who you are, but being able to do the right thing at the right time with that specific person and in that specific situation. Is this making sense?
It is, yeah, very interesting. And it's also interesting that you applied the principles to your coaching, because I haven't heard of many people doing that, and it's very unique. And yeah, it's very interesting. And what types of people do you help, Bogdan, with your coaching?
Leaders, CEOs, business owners, coaches, consultants. It's across the board.
Awesome. And how do you administer your coaching to them? Do you have regular meetings? Do you have courses? What do you do?
Yeah, one-on-one and group coaching mainly.
Okay, awesome. Well, very interesting take on coaching there, combining the kind of Eastern martial arts philosophy, where there is a lot of wisdom in it, and we sometimes kind of look to the future too much, where there's a lot of value in a lot of this stuff that's been thought about for thousands of years. So we don't want to miss any of these nuggets of wisdom. And if you want to have a chat to Bogdan about that, then I have put his details in the show notes as well. What's your URL, Bogdan?
To connect, probably the book and on LinkedIn, you can find it.
All right. So grab the book, have a read of it, of what's there, and I think I've got Bogdan's LinkedIn in the show notes as well, so you can reach out and have a chat to him. Very interesting. Thanks, Bogdan.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thanks, guests. That was a very interesting episode. I'm going to wrap things up today. Thanks for playing, and thanks for listening, everyone. See you next time. Ciao.